Welcome to the Blog Millionaire, where we break down the essential strategies of today's most successful bloggers to take your blog to the next level with top-notch content, monumental traffic growth, and multiple revenue streams to go beyond your wildest goals. So get ready to blog like a pro and make your traffic explode with your host, whose blog gets more than 1 million visitors every single month, Brandon Gailey.
Hello, I'm Brandon Gailey, and welcome to episode number 11 of the Blog Millionaire. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to turn your About page into a sales machine. The About page is your opportunity to share who you really are with your readers. Building a relationship with your blog audience is a lot like dating. They do a search on Google and make a decision to choose your post over the 9 other results on that page. Then they begin reading what you have to say within your post. This is the first time you meet, and they're going to decide whether you are dating material. A few more posts might get you through the next couple of dates, but your About Me page will determine whether you are relationship material. This is why my About page is the most important page on my blog. Here are 3 more reasons why you need to invest some serious time in creating an epic About Me page. Number 1, it creates a perceived psychological bond. Before a visitor reads my About page, I am just the nameless face who is behind the articles. After they read my intimate story within my About Me page, the bond is sealed and they are a raving fan for life. Number 2, it increases email subscriptions. A simple text link towards the bottom of my About page has the highest conversion rate of any email opt-in across my entire blog. Over 70% of visitors that click that link give me their email address. And number 3, it drives sales. When done correctly, an About page can strategically promote your core products and services in key locations. A revealing personal story can create a perceived relationship between you and the reader. And as we all know, relationships are at the core of sales conversions. Most bloggers just do not know that the About page can influence their overall products and services revenue by as much as 30%. Therefore, it is usually neglected and never promoted as pillar content. So let's get right into the nuts and bolts of how to create an unforgettable About Me page that drives revenue directly into your bank account. It starts with crafting a great title. The title of your story needs to compel your audience to click on and read your story. An About page title is different than a blog post title because it is a story. With this in mind, let's take a quick look at how publishers craft titles for books. Michael Hyatt, who used to run a large publishing house, says that great titles do at least one of the following. Number 1, makes a promise. Timothy Ferriss does a great job of making a promise in his book, The 4-Hour Workweek. Escape the 9 to 5 and live anywhere to join the new rich. Number 2, creates intrigue. Todd Burpo generates intrigue with his book title, Heaven is for Real, a little boy's astounding story of his trip to heaven and back. Number 3, it identifies a need. Max Lucado's book title identifies a need for people wanting to get beyond their fears. The title of his book is Fearless, Imagine Your Life Without Fear. And number 4, it simply states the content. A good example of simply stating the content in a book title would be The Autobiography of Mark Twain. Out of these 4 strategies, creating intrigue is usually the one that works best for an About Me page. I was able to successfully apply this strategy when creating the title for my story. My title is From Brain Tumor to 1 Million Monthly Visitors. My title creates intrigue while also framing me as an expert that has had massive success with my blog. The title allows me to drive significant traffic to my About page, and it compels people to dive deep into my story. If you do not have a good title, then it will be extremely difficult to get people to read the very first sentence. So take your time to craft a really killer title. The next thing you want to do is hook your readers with an exceptional opening paragraph. In the first paragraph, you want to use some creative foreshadowing to hint at the most compelling parts of your story. Here are the first 2 paragraphs of my About Me page so that you have a better idea what I mean. I overcame being beaten up and bullied as a teen to build multiple $1 million+ companies in my 20s. In my 30s, a brain tumor severely disabled me, and I battled against the odds to regain my health so that I could help my pregnant wife with her fight against cancer. I want you to know who I really am. Every About page I see talks about how great the person is and what they have accomplished in business. My close friends and family have seen me on top of the world running multi-million-dollar businesses, and they have also seen me mentally and physically disabled, watching helplessly as I faded away. This is my story, and I hope that it gives you an idea of who I really am. In those 2 opening paragraphs, I mentioned my 3 biggest struggles to foreshadow the most intriguing parts of my story. The first line of a novel can make or break the story. It is no different for your About Me page. The next big thing that you want to do is tell the whole story that includes all of the ups and every single down. One of the most common mistakes that people make when creating an About Me page is making it all about their accomplishments. It is important to mention your accomplishments, but each accomplishment should be woven into the story. Your story should go into details of how you overcame the biggest obstacles in your life. Then you can casually mention your accomplishments as part of the story. Your visitors want to hear your struggle and how you dealt with it. The struggle is what makes an incredible story. Just think about all the greatest books and movies of all time. It is all about the struggle. The original Rocky movie was 110 minutes of struggle and 12 minutes of accomplishments. Pixar's #1 rule of phenomenal storytelling is you admire a character for trying more than you do for their successes. My About Me page takes my audience through my entire story, over 4,478 carefully chosen words. In my story, I am the major character that is faced with 3 major struggles that I had to overcome. Struggle number 1 was teenage bullying. I talk about how I dealt with the daily barrage of bullying. I go into details of how I was beaten up on a daily basis and how horrible it felt to have food thrown at me as I walked down the hallway. It pushed me to the point of wanting to commit suicide, but I was able to find strength in Napoleon Hill's book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. This was the first business book I read, and it laid the foundation for my entrepreneurial path. The second struggle that I talked about was having to deal with mental and physical disabilities that were left over from my brain tumor. The deterioration of my health led to me having to dissolve all of my businesses and eventually pile up $500,000 in debt. For me, just to be able to have a business again was a major accomplishment. And most of my audience can relate to having to overcome a health challenge. The final struggle that I shared with my audience was my wife's battle with stage 3 breast cancer while being pregnant with our first child. After the doctors told my wife her 2-year survival rate was 40%, she fell into a deep depression. And then they informed us that we needed to make a decision between my wife and my unborn son. At that point, I researched everything that I could get my hands on in order to find another way. There was one study that discussed how the clinical diagnosis of pregnant women with cancer was often wrong because of the hormones that fuel the cancer. This ended up leading the doctors to change their course of treatment, and my son was born healthy 3 months later. I hope that most of you have not had to deal with anything close to my struggles, but each of us have faced challenges that have molded us into who we are today. Share the details of these challenges with your audience and let them know how you overcame them. The next thing that you're going to want to do with your About page is to include lots of pictures. Let's quickly take a look at some great statistics that will show you why it is always important to include visual imagery with your About Me page. Color visuals increase a visitor's willingness to read your story by 80%. 90% of information transmitted to your brain is visual. Visuals are processed 60,000 times faster than text. And finally, people remember 10% of what they hear, 20% of what they read, and 80% of what they see. On my About Me page, I show pictures of me as a child, pictures of me in my 20s when I was healthy and knocking out multi-million-dollar companies every other year, pictures during my wife's struggle with cancer, and pictures of my family just having a fun time. When your audience reads your struggles and sees your pictures, it creates a perceived level of intimacy that makes them want to support you. This means reading your post religiously, subscribing to get your emails, and purchasing your products and services. The next thing you're going to want to do is to strategically place links to your products and services throughout your About Me page. In addition to sharing your struggles, you want to showcase your successes. Towards the end of your About Me page, you will talk about your current business. You will want to make sure that you stay in story mode and do not start advertising your services. If you start pitching in your About page, then all trust will be lost. However, it is real easy to drop a text link that casually says that you can find out more about XYZ. I strategically place links to my online course and to my podcast at the end of my story. Here's how I do it for each one. My About Me page basically breaks down my entire life chronologically by year. So when it comes to 2015, I discuss how I created my online course. The title says, 2015, Launching the Blog Millionaire Online Course That Reveals My Secret Process. And then it has a simple paragraph that reads, I spent another 6 months developing a course that laid out a step-by-step process for achieving the same results that my clients pay me up to $100,000 a year for. The course was named The Blog Millionaire. It broke down my secret process into easy-to-understand video modules. The 13 modules were grouped into 3 sections: create, grow, and monetize. The course was so successful that I had to make people sign up to a waiting list so I could make sure that I delivered the best of me to everyone that was signing up. You can find out more about the course here. So as you can see, I told a story about how I created that online course, but in that story, I kind of mentioned the key points of my course, and then finally at the end, I added that link that said you can find out more about the course here. Now, the next paragraph after my online course, I talked about my podcast, and it read 2016, having fast success with my first podcast. I dedicated the last 4 months of 2015 preparing to launch my podcast, The Blog Millionaire. I did not know anyone with a podcast, so I joined Podcast Paradise and leveraged the expertise of John Lee Dumas to guide me down the road of podcast success. I launched with 5 episodes, and with 10 days, my show was getting downloaded over 1,000 times per day. The show is essentially me breaking down different strategies that I use to drive millions of visitors to my blog. If you are interested, then you can go here to subscribe. As you can see, both of the links that I talked about with these 2 sections were casually dropped after I told a brief story of how I created each one. I did not go too deep into detail because I wanted to wrap it up quickly and give them the opportunity to click and find out more. And just to mention it one more time, both of these paragraphs are at the end of my About Me page. So by the time they get to the point to where they're presented with a link to find out more about one of my products or something that I want to showcase, they've already read 4,000 words about my entire life. At this point, they're primed and ready to click on something to find out more about what I have to offer. Also, this is at the end of the About page. Just like with any page or post, at the very end, you want to give them something else to click on so they can continue finding out more about what you offer or about who you are. The next thing you want to make sure you're going to do on your About Me page is to add a link to your contact page in your very last sentence. After someone reads through every word of your story, then you want to give them the opportunity to reach out to you. This is going to lead to 3 things. Number 1, inspirational messages from your audience. Every week I get 15 to 20 emails letting me know how my story is inspiring my followers to battle through their own health problems. This has led to several great relationships with my readers, and it has meant the world to me. Number 2, new client opportunities. Many of the people that send me a message about my story end up becoming a client or buying my course. The key is to engage everyone that sends you a message in a timely manner by asking them a question about their own life or their business. This creates a nice correspondence that usually leads to new clients and new sales. And number 3, speaking engagements. Organizers of local and national conferences are always looking for new speakers to run breakout sessions. Whether they find you through a blog post or from a referral, they always end up reading your About Me page. Having a link to contact you at the end of your story will increase the likelihood that they will reach out to you for more information. If you want to make it even easier for people to contact you, then you can include the actual contact form at the bottom of your About Me page. This will eliminate one extra step that they need to take. Now that we've covered the most important aspects of an About Me page, let's talk about how to promote it. I looked at 94 different blog About pages while researching for this episode. Only 2 out of all 94 blogs that I reviewed were actively promoting their About pages within their blog. Products and pillar posts were promoted on nearly every page of these blogs. The only link to the About Me page was the standard About link in their main navigation. So don't feel too bad if you fall into this category. Get excited because you have the opportunity to do something with excellence that less than 3% of all bloggers do. Here are the 3 main areas that I promote my About Me page on. The first area is the top of the sidebar on all posts. For almost 2 decades, we have been trained to subscribe and follow blogs at the top of every sidebar. This is where I place my call to action for my About page. I treat this the same way I would treat a call to action for a product or a pillar post. I entice my audience with a great title and an excerpt that makes them want to read more. Then I turned it into a nice text-based banner which used most of the same visual components as what most people are used to seeing in their Facebook feed. So if you go to the show notes page at theblogmillionaire.com/11, you can see visual examples of this and, of course, visual examples of everything that I've talked about at this point. Now, to describe this sidebar ad that I have a picture of my face. Next to it says The Blog Millionaire, from brain tumor to 1 million monthly visitors. And then right below that, it says how I got to 1 million. After a brain tumor left me physically and mentally disabled, I fought back to regain my health to help my pregnant wife battle stage 3 breast cancer. 2 years later, I launched my blog using ... And then there's a link that says learn more. I use the title to grab their attention, and then I start them with a small excerpt to make them want to read more. The second area that I promote my About page is in the blog bio below every single post. Now, if you listen to the last episode, then you know all about how to use the blog bio. If you are not linking to your About page in your blog bio, then you are shooting yourself in the foot. New visitors will read your blog bio at the end of every single post so that they can find out more about you. This means everyone that reads your bio is essentially asking you to tell them your story. I use the second sentence of my blog bio to transition them into the story about me. My blog bio reads something like this. Mr. Gailey is one of the top business bloggers in the world, and he has founded several multi-million-dollar companies. Read Brandon's inspiring story from brain tumor to 1 million monthly visitors. So you can see in my blog bio, I'm once again using that great title that I came up from brain tumor to 1 million monthly visitors to drive people to see that About Me page. The final area where I promote my About Me page is in the signature of every email that is sent to my subscribers. I send out a weekly email to my subscribers with my featured blog post once a week. Every one of these emails has a strong call to action in my signature. Since my emails are short and sweet, the link to my story gets hundreds of clicks each time I send out an email to my list. To give you an idea of what one of these emails sound like, it starts off with, you have to take a look at my featured post of the week, the ideal blog post link for SEO. I statistically break down the exact number of words that leads to a number one ranking on Google. Have a fantastic week. Brandon Gailey, Chief Blogger. And then right there it says, from brain tumor to 1 million visitors. Read my inspiring comeback story. As you can see in all three examples, the title plays a crucial role in compelling people to click on out. Because of these three promotional spots, my story was read by over 35,000 people last year alone. Let's do a quick review of everything that we've covered and what makes a great About Me page. There are 6 major principles that I covered in this episode. Number 1, craft a great title. Use intrigue to compel your audience to click and read. Number 2, hook them with a great opening paragraph. Incorporate foreshadowing into your opening sentences to give your readers a prelude of what the most interesting parts of your story are. Number 3, tell your whole story. Reveal your biggest struggles because your audience will admire you more for the moments when you tried and failed. Number 4, use pictures throughout your story. Try and choose pictures of key life moments where your personality shines the most. Number 5, strategically place links to your products and services. Share your journey that led to creating each major product and service, then casually place a link giving them the opportunity to find out more. And finally, number 6, promote your About Me page as if it's your top-selling product. Create strong calls to action at the top of the sidebar, within your blog author bio, and in the signature of every email that you send to your list. A great About Me page that weaves a compelling story can make a huge difference to your bottom line. Make a plan to take your About Me page to an entirely new level with the core principles that you've learned here today. It will allow your audience to see who you really are and open the doors to all kinds of new opportunities. Please take a moment right now to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any new episodes that come out. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in for this episode of The Blog Millionaire. Go over to theblogmillionaire.com now to sign up to the waiting list for Brandon's exclusive online course that breaks down exactly how he gets over 1 million monthly visitors to his blog. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes, and please take a moment to write a review for our podcast in the App Store.